Okay, today I wanted to go over something from the Satipatthana Sutta called the Factors of Awakening. But before I even go into that, I want to step back and have another metaphor for what this is all about, why I'm spending time on the Satipatthana Sutta, why the Factors of Awakening. But what I am able to see now and what happens to me and probably a lot of people is often a lot of our life is done on autopilot. You know, you drive, you see, you don't even think about turning the wheel. Your thoughts keep popping up and you don't question them. Just things seem to keep going on, and there are forces within you that are driving your behavior that aren't really conscious. And one way of summarizing the meditation practice we're doing and the philosophy we're doing is for us to be aware of when we're in autopilot, to be able to step back, have an objective observer saying, this guy's going off the rails, and this guy is me, is going off the rails. What can I do about it? And allows you to start taking control. And everything we're doing, whether meditating or not, is really cultivating this objective observer. Now, I want to read directly from the Satipatthana Sutta, where Buddha goes over the factors of awakening. If the mindfulness awakening factor is present in them, they know there is mindfulness awakening factor in me. And I want to stop. I have studied a long time ago the Satipatthana Sutta, and I took it like an intellectual exercise. Well, I want to memorize what all these factors are, so if I took a multiple choice test, I took a test, I could answer them. Now, what I have done, I have gone over it again, gone in more detail. And when I am meditating, I actually can experience when mindfulness is there. I can experience when mindfulness is not there. And we're going to do a guided meditation with a body scan, and your mind will wander off. But what you will see is you want to focus on your breath or your forehead or whatever in your body, but your mind takes you away and you are not aware. You've shifted into autopilot. And it can be very fascinating, both when you're meditating and when you're not meditating, to know how you can shift back and forth between autopilot and awareness. And mindfulness is the mental discipline that keeps you from staying in autopilot and pulls you out. And that experience of mindfulness can be that sense of awakening you have when you're, oh, I'm lost in thought. Yeah, how did I get here? You know, I was trying to focus on my nostrils, but I didn't. And that's it's an experience of that shock. You know, I'm asleep and being aware of it. So the first factor is mindfulness awakening factor. And you're not only present when it is there, but when it's not there. You're awake. You need to notice when you are mindful and when you're not mindful. And you need to know how it arises and what causes it to stop. For me, when I am meditating, I know that I really need to be determined, really be focused on, think it's important to do that. There's 7 factors of awakening. The first is a mindfulness awakening factor. The second is investigation of the Dhammas. And what that is essentially is a wisdom factor to watch out. Am I mindful? Am I not? What caused me to trigger? But this is investigating, oh, what's going on right now? Why am I doing that? Is it helpful? Applying wisdom to what you see. So this is a second. Third is the energy. You know, when you start dozing off, you can be aware of that you are dozing off, that you don't have energy. And one thing you can do is get your back straight, or one thing you can do is stand up. But you can't get the energy factor until you're aware that it's there or not. And by the way, the first three lines on this is all about the mindfulness awakening factor. You know when it's there, you know when it's not, you know how it rises, what causes it to rise and what doesn't. In the Satipatthana Sutta, all of those things are mentioned, but I'm just not repeating. Be aware when it's there, aware when it's not there, know what causes it to arise, know what stops. The energy factor, same thing. Know when it's there, know when it's not, what causes it to arise and what doesn't. The joy factor. And, you know, how are you feeling? What's your state of mind? Are you happy? And in Tibetan Buddhism, they're jhanas, they're higher states of mind, altered states, where you just feel really blissful. And if you meditate long enough and consistently enough, there'll be times in your life where you'll feel really blissful. You haven't won the lottery, but you feel really good. Tranquility is this sense of peace. In spite of what's going on in there, it's just not bothering you. And really, concentration is also another state where you really are able to focus on mind. You don't get distracted. Hold 1 second. Okay. Sorry, the house alarm went off, and I need to turn it off. Okay. And equanimity is really what I would call the enlightened state of mind, where despite circumstances, there's a sense of well-being. You feel everything's okay. Things do go wrong all the time, but if you have a sense of confidence that you can fix it, that you know it's impermanent, that things will be better, and you're not shaken up by it. And I know when I started teaching meditation, one of the great examples I have is when you go to a traffic light and it's red. And if you watch how you react to that, sometimes you can take a little thing like that and blow it out of proportion. And maybe a red light to you is not, but I can see more and more, I see these little things. Getting upset doesn't do anything about it. And you really get to the point where you can feel a sense of equanimity in spite of what goes on. So when I talked about the objective observer, what I was getting at is all of these things are things that the objective observer will notice: mindfulness, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, equanimity. All of those you can experience. So we're not going over this so you can pass a test and list all these and get 100. It's throughout the day, it's oh, I'm not feeling equity. Oh, I'm not being mindful. So that you'll wake up that objective observer, get out of autopilot. And in Jungian terms, there's this inner self. There's a wise self inside of you, the wise person, the wise woman, the wise man who can direct your actions, but only when you wake up, only when you observe what you're doing. And now I'd like to go through them. There's 7 factors of awakening, but each one leads to the next step. The first step is mindfulness. And if you are not aware of your state of mind, you can't change it. If you're not aware that you're angry, anger is running you. It's a complex. It's grabbed you by the throat. It's pulling you around. It's taking control, and you won't be able to change it. The second factor is investigation. Investigation is looking closely. What just happened? I'm at a red light. I'm really upset. I'm worried about getting there late at time. And if you notice, your blood pressure may go up, your heart rate may go up. And when you get to your destination, you're going to be upset. And you may be in a business meeting or with loved ones, and it will impact how, your state of mind impacts how you relate to your colleagues, your friends, and your family. So you might have the wisdom, I'm getting angry. This isn't going to serve me well. And you understand that and get that wisdom. Once you do that, you say, you can get energy. You can get inspired by this. Hey, my mindfulness led to an awareness investigation, and now it saved me from going into a meeting upset or dealing with my family in an upset mood. This is good stuff. I got to keep doing it. I'm inspired to do it. I've got the energy to do it. When you are aware, gain self-control, it can bring about a sense of happiness and joy. If you have the happiness and joy, it'll lead to tranquility. And when you're peaceful, you can concentrate. So it's a step-by-step process. And whenever you get agitated, whenever you're agitated, think about what's going on. And whenever you're meditating and your mind wanders, notice about what distracted it. So you gain some wisdom into how you are behaving. I don't think I've talked about, but there are hindrances to a meditation practice. One is desire and craving. One is hatred and anger. One is sloth and torpor, tiredness. But these are the tools that help you overcome them. For example, when you're sluggish, if you investigate, if you have energy, you'll reach a point of joy and happiness. And if you're full of energy and your mind is flitting from one thing to another, if you have a restless mind, think about tranquility and concentration and equanimity. And mindfulness is what's needed both when whether you're sluggish or over-energized. Mindfulness is the one that awakens you to that fact, brings out the objective observer, and allows you to do that, to increase energy when you need it or decrease the energy when you need it. And if you consider, if your first step is to be aware of how you behave, what triggers it, get that wisdom factor. But when you have that wisdom factor, when you know that it's present, see what triggered it. I mean, in the case example I use, it's a red light. It triggers you. Whenever you have a traffic light, a traffic jam, it might trigger you. So if you become aware of your triggers, even before that happens, I'm going out driving today, I'm sometimes get upset at red lights, sometimes get attracted. These things are going to happen. I'm going to stay conscious. And when you don't have these awakening factors, when you're not being mindful, when you're not doing the investigating, when you don't have the energy, how can you bring that about? And now I'll show you the foils that I've essentially covered. I'll go by them slowly. I won't say anything, and I'll let you read. And reiterate that last line in there. These are experiential. Everything like mindfulness, you can actually experience it happening. Investigating, when you're analyzing something, you can see that your mind can do that, questioning why did it happen. It can be experiential. And I want to go into a little bit more detail about two of the things. One is mindfulness. And I love this. This is exactly it that I talked about. On autopilot, your mind's going all over the place. My mind goes all over the place. When your mindful, being two words, this is what's going on, autopilot. When you're mindful, you're in the present moment. You see trees there. That's the reality of the moment, sunshine and trees. You're not lost in your head. You're in the present moment. And I want to say a couple things about mindfulness. First, this is the most critical. When you're really meditating is all about this. Focus on your breath. You're always going, am I focused on my breath, pulling it back? Am I focused on my breath, pulling it back? But it's building up. That's exactly what mindfulness is. Being aware of what you're aware of. And are you aware of your breath, or are you just lost in thought? First step. But also mindfulness has another connotation, is remembering. Why are you sitting on a meditation mat? Why are you there? And you're remembering that it's to practice mindfulness, to practice investigation, to know when your mind has wandered, remembering. And it's always, no matter what form you're doing, at the body scan, it's present moment experience. You can be chanting and you're all involved in the chanting, or visualization. Present moment experience. And mindfulness, when you're aware of what's going on, the goal or the advantage of being mindful is it gives you a chance to think of what's the most constructive thing I can do in the current situation. What's the most ethical thing I can do? What will serve me well? Mindfulness allows you to step back and look at the complexities of the situation you face. I wish there was one sentence I could tell you what you should do in any situation. But one of the problems with life, for example, is that some people are very self-centered, and they need to reach out and be more kind to the people around them. Some people are kind and caring, and have trouble distinguishing when people are taking advantage of, and people, when people are taking advantages of them. And you have to find this balance. And for some people, they need to be more compassionate. Some people need to be less. Some people are too energetic. Some people aren't energetic enough. Some people are too disciplined, and some people aren't disciplined enough. It's complex, and you have to really think about, what am I doing? And to me, often it's finding a balance. There's no simple answer, but finding a balance about caring about yourself, caring about others, finding a balanced response. And at least think about it. Initially, it'll be hard to find a solution, but sit there with that pain of trying to figure it out. And there will be unwholesome states of mind. And what can you do about it? And one of the things we do in all the meditations, I usually close it out with a gratitude meditation. You could do a compassion, but there are antidotes for these unwholesome states of mind. And I'll give you a chance to read that. And again, it'll be in your handouts and it'll be on this video. I want to hit on balancing again. There's so much in life is like that. You shouldn't eat too much or eat too little. I see with being an informed citizen, I can be watching the news and all it does is depress me, depress me, depress me. It's not doing anything, but I need to be informed. And there's no middle way between indulgence in the bad news and ignoring them. So everything is a difficult balance, but having experience, watching what you're doing, notice your reactions, notice what responses work and what doesn't work for you. An investigation, again, this is the wisdom aspect. It's really thinking about, what am I doing? Is it helpful to me? And another example I see with investigation is I have noticed that I often go and want to get a cookie or eat something. When I look closely, when that happens, I'm bored. And because I've noticed that, when I notice I want something to eat, my first thought is, instead of getting something to eat, what's going to hold my mind? What should I be doing? Or I'm bored or frustrated. If I'm frustrated, how can I solve this problem? What can I do to solve the problem? Going to the refrigerator doesn't help me solve it. And this is one of my habitual patterns. When I'm frustrated or bored, go to the refrigerator. And equanimity, I like how it's put in the Satipatthana Sutta. It's free from desire and discontent. And I think desire is probably a better word might be craving. I mean, even wanting world peace, if you want it bad enough, you'll be miserable. You can be miserable. Notice what it does for you. Um, but Jungian in psychology, there's a term shadow work. Currently, in my opinion, there's a bad actor in the world who's attacked another country, who's killing innocent civilians. He's a dictator. But what can happen and what does happen is you get so angry about it that you want to do something, and maybe you want to kill them. Well, if you kill them, you are a killer. And what can be worse is not only do you want to kill him, you want to kill everybody that works with him. Or what could be worse than that is you want to kill everybody in the country that he comes from. And then you'll have a never-ending cycle of war. When you see people do something bad, the tendency is wanting to do the same thing to them. And those thoughts come to me, I'm conscious of it, and I just hope that peace can be found without turning me into a villain like that person is. And I think if you get overzealous about fighting difficult people, it could cause problems. Now, I use the example of what's going on, but there's issues between siblings, there are issues between parents and their children, children and their parents, boss and employees. And unfortunately, even in those circumstances, what I see is a tendency to revenge. And finding equanimity is, this is the difficulty. I don't want to become like them. Let me find a constructive way of handling it. And I think if we have a discussion afterwards, you may want to bring it up. It's sometimes hard. But if you can respond in a way that doesn't diminish you, look for that. And sometimes I believe that there are circumstances where very strong action needs to be taken. And I don't want to, but do it thoughtfully. And you just don't do it out of anger. Do it understanding the consequences of your anger. And truly, the more you are compassionate, even with difficult people, particularly difficult people who aren't hurting you, they're just difficult. They're that way because they're suffering. And have as much empathy as you can and set up as good a boundaries so that you don't get hurt. And although I'm not taking questions now because I'm doing the video, I'm doing a video. I want to get the guided meditation in there. Think about if you have any questions about what I've covered, please bring it up when we're finished the guided meditation. What I'd like you to do now is find a comfortable position that you could hold for about 10 or 15 minutes. And I'd like to lead you through a guided meditation. And before I even do that, ultimately, the goal is to have a sense of well-being, be free from desire and discontent. And what amazes me about meditation is whenever I've been in situations where I am unhappy, I'm depressed, I'm mad, just my whole disposition changes. It's if I just get embodied, just get in the present moment. And then I can see things with clarity. The middle way opens up. Better alternatives open up. I don't give up. I don't suppress it. I'm able to act more effectively. And hopefully, this guided meditation we're going to do will help you feel calmer and clearer. Find a comfortable position. If you'd like to lie down, do that. If you'd like to be in a sitting posture on the floor, do that. If you want to sit in a chair, it can be helpful to have your feet flat on the ground. It may be helpful to have your back straight. You may want to allow yourself to close your eyes. And what I'd like you to do is begin breathing into the count of 3 as you breathe in, and breathe out to the count of 3 as you breathe out. And if you feel comfortable, keep increasing the count slowly. Don't go beyond 10. And don't feel stressed by the breathing. But constantly increase so you're breathing a little bit longer, a little bit slower, a little bit deeper. Now, what I'd like you to do is we'll go through a body scan. What I'd like you to do is focus on the top of your head. And notice the felt sense. You may want to feel the air touching the top of your head. Maybe you can sense the blood in the skin moving around in the top of your head. Focus your attention on the top of your head. You have the intention to pay attention to the felt sense at the top of your head. Now focus on your forehead. Notice as your forehead relax or tense. And if it's tense, relax it. Notice the felt sense of the air touching your skin. See if you can get a felt sense of the blood flowing through your forehead. Notice if you can become more and more sensitive and feel the air more vividly or the blood flowing more vividly and clearly. Be curious. Do the sensations change over time? Focus on your eyebrows. Your eyelids. Be curious. Can you really feel the liquid between your eyelid and your eyeball? If you want to, move your eyeball around and notice what it feels like on your eyelid. Focus on the outer skin of your nose. Now focus on the inside of your nostrils. Can you really feel the air coming in? Can you feel the air going out? Focus, concentrate, and notice. Continue to focus on the felt sense of the air coming in through your nostrils, on the inside of your nostrils. Eventually, there'll be a wave of experience, a thought, an emotion. When it arises, bring your attention back to your breath, the sense of breathing in your nostrils. Notice your attitude when your mind wanders. Feet walk, minds wander. It's okay. Notice how you talk to yourself as you gently bring the focus back to your breath, back to your nostrils. We're practicing kindness to ourselves. We're not labeling or judging ourselves. Meditation is a way to practice it over and over again as our minds tend to continually wander. Smile. Say thank you, thank you. And keep thinking about the things you're grateful for and the people that you're grateful to. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May you always meet with spiritual success. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable failures, difficulties, and challenges of life. May you rise above them with morality, integrity, forgiveness, compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom. Thank you so much for your presence today. And now, if you'd like to raise your hand, stretch out, and have a nice day.